I've been hearing a lot of people commenting about the housing prices, raising inflation, the cost of living, high rents, and I find it's interesting that nobody's addressing the elephant in the room. In 2019, Canada's military budget was $22 billion. In 2025, it's more than $44 billion. That's $22 billion that isn't available for housing, for food, for anything. Why do you think your grocery bill costs more? Do you think that just came from the air, like malaria? No, that's military spending. That's military money that's going. And our the leader of the Green Party has promised to increase military spending. Mark Carney is certainly promising to increase military spending to meet the famous NATO 2% of our GDP magic number. So I'm wondering why. I'm wondering what, if anything, the Green Party candidate and the NDP Party candidate would do to stop the skyrocketing militarism and bring the money back to the people of Canada and stop making refugees overseas become immigrants that we complain about. Thank you.
So your question is addressed to the Green Party and the...
I'd like for Malcolm and for Arnold, please.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an excellent question. The main point.
Pardon me, I wanted to mention that both of you have signed I'm very pleased that both of you have signed the Vote Palestine platform and endorsed all 5 of the points. So I'm wondering if you will be doing anything about military spending as a continuation of that promise.
Yeah. So to your kind of central question about military spending, we are at a tough juncture where Canada's sovereignty is being threatened by a major power. But the fact is that it doesn't have to be one or the other. We can build a robust military that's sufficiently funded while addressing housing costs and the cost of essentials. And the way that the Green Party is proposing to do this is with aggressive revenue-based actions, such as introducing a wealth tax that would generate billions in terms of tax revenue to be able to address these.
So we'll pay for it.
As well as closing tax loopholes that the ultra-wealthy use to get out of payment.
So you won't reduce military spending?
Sorry, there's no conversation.
It can get 10 more seconds just for. And then finally, it's about our prioritization as well. The $30 billion we spent on fossil fuel subsidies last year, that can be going towards these programs as well. So as a direct answer, we can be doing both. I won't commit to reducing military spending because it's crucial, I think, at this juncture of our history. But we can be addressing these issues in a meaningful way at the same time, and this is how I would do that.
So thank you for this important question. We have a lot of pressing issues in Canada that we could be spending on, and the military, I would tend to say, we should not be funding war, we should not be funding violence, we should never be funding genocide. So we really have to be prudent with the pressures from other jurisdictions for Canada to increase our military spending. We have to be resistant to that and be reasonable. We can have military spending count for things that are helpful. Like in Europe, they say military spending is building more railways because they use those railways to transport the tanks and things. So we could say that some of our military spending is things like that we actually need. We need to build more railways to bypass the freight. So that would be sensible, I think. Obviously ensure that we are never funding genocide, never funding, not sending arms to countries that are committing genocidal acts, and being responsible with that in the international situation.
La prochaine question est de Carl Fournier. En anglais, Carl Fournier?
English.
Yes.
All right. One thing I heard from Trainman Montagano, which I think is very apt, is that we are creating an asymmetrical federalism in terms of linguistic policy. We are doing everything we can to protect the French language as we should. Yet at the same time, we are degrading and severely restricting the English language here in Quebec. So I would want to ask both the Bloc candidate as well as the Green candidate, yes. Why is it that it's perfectly acceptable to protect the French language across Canada, but yet somehow or another the English language is not afforded the same equality here in Quebec? Thank you.
So your question is to the Green Party? Okay.
How do they justify that?
Pardon? Okay.
Sa question.
Would you rather I respond in English?
I think it would be a good idea. Yes.
Yes, of course. So, it's important to make the distinction between, the separation of powers and what's happening with the French language. The Bloc Québécois isn't necessarily for Bill 96 in the sense that, I'm giving that as an example. The Bloc Québécois believes that no matter what, another level of government shouldn't be interfering with Quebec's choices. At the same time, when, again, at the provincial level, I'm involved with Quebec Solidaire. I do not agree with many of the dispositions in Bill 96, for instance. It's a question of having the maturity to, as a society, discuss this among ourselves without being interfered with by other governments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cal, was your name? Carl, yes. Thank you for the question, Carl. Bill C-96, well, this is a pertinent question for this riding especially. Mark Garneau, if I remember correctly, was against Bill C-96, or he had voiced opposition anyways, and then soon after resigned as MD of this riding. So it's an important issue for folks in this riding. It's a very anglophone riding within Quebec, and while Quebec is a primarily French province, the rights of anglophones need to be protected. The Green Party has been consistent in opposing the current form of Bill C-96. It's not considerate enough to the rights of Anglos in certain ways. For example, we shouldn't be restricting folks from attending non-English CEGEPs, especially as someone who attended English CEGEP. This is important to me. We need to be considerate of Anglos in Quebec as we are with Francos within Canada, so that we can live in harmony and be a strong country together.
I would just simply follow up and say that I was seeking clarification from the Bloc candidate, and I got baffled. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fournier, thank you. We're not going into, we have too many